This all happened on Thanksgiving, which is probably why I remember every single detail so clearly. I was sick at the time, past the worst of it, but still dealing with this relentless, chest-burning cough. I had chills, zero energy, and honestly, I should have just stayed home in bed. But I'd already promised a coworker ID check on her cat while she was out of town for the holiday. The cat was old, needed medication every single day, and I just couldn't bring myself to back out on her. Besides, I had another reason for leaving the house that night. I really wanted to grab my old tennis rackets and my bowling ball from my father's place. I only visited a couple of times a year, so if I didn't get them then, it would be months before I had another chance. Living in a big city without a car means public transportation is my life. So, even while sick, I convinced myself I could handle it. The plan sounded simple enough in my head. Take the light rail toward my dad's neighborhood, meet my brother for a quick handoff of my stuff, then head back across town and catch a bus to my coworker's apartment. It seemed manageable. In reality, by the time I was heading back, it was cold, dark, and already close to 9 p.m. When I stepped off the light rail to transfer to the bus, things immediately started to go wrong. The transit app on my phone kept saying the bus was 1 minute away, over and over again, but nothing ever showed up. Then, suddenly, it would jump to 15 minutes. I waited and waited. 30 minutes crawled by. Normally, I would have just walked. My coworker's place wasn't that far, but I was a 19-year-old woman, barely over 5 feet tall, sick, exhausted, and now I was lugging around a 13-pound bowling ball, 2 tennis rackets, and a heavy bag of Thanksgiving leftovers. The bus stop was completely deserted. That's when a car pulled up nearby. There were several men inside, laughing and talking in a language I didn't recognize. I figured they were just dropping someone off. After a minute, one of them got out, and the car sped away, leaving him there with me. The transit station was pretty large, so I made sure to stand a little ways away from the bench, partly because I didn't want to start coughing near anyone. But despite the distance, the man walked right over and sat directly next to me. I remember thinking how unnecessary that was, but I tried my best not to read into it. I just focused on my phone, refreshing the bus schedule, glancing down the empty road for any sign of headlights. A couple of minutes passed in silence. Then I felt something heavy settle onto my shoulder. It was his arm. He wrapped it tightly around me. My brain just completely shut down. I didn't scream. I didn't move. I just froze, trying to process what was even happening. After a moment, he mumbled, something maybe asking if I was okay. I quietly said I was fine, just waiting for my bus. After another long minute, he let go and sat back down. Every alarm bell in my body was screaming, but I kept trying to rationalize it. Maybe he thought I was sick and about to faint. Maybe he was just trying to be helpful in some strange, misguided way. None of it made any sense, but I was terrified of escalating the situation. He was over 6 feet tall, easily, twice my weight, and we were completely alone. He was also wearing a bandana-style face covering, which wasn't totally unusual at the time, but it definitely didn't help calm my nerves. A few minutes later, he stood up again. This time, he wrapped his arm around me even tighter than before. He started rubbing my back. I remember thinking how grateful I was for my thick puffer jacket, even though I could still feel the pressure of his grip through the fabric. Then, finally, I saw it. The bright headlights of the bus, turning the corner down the street. As it pulled up to the stop, I managed to slip out from under his arm and quietly said, "My bus is here." He said something back, something that made it very clear he was planning on coming with me. On the bus, I had to make a split-second decision. I stayed standing near the front, so he would be forced to take a seat. I just knew that if I sat down first, he would sit right next to me again. The second I was stable, I pulled out my phone and texted a friend, frantically trying to figure out what to do. Calling the police felt impossible. I could barely speak without coughing, and I had no idea if he had a weapon. But I knew one thing for sure. I could not go to my coworker's place. He would see where she lived. The bus stop right before her apartment was my workplace, a restaurant located in a large outdoor shopping center. Everything would be closed for the night, but I knew there were security cameras everywhere. And more importantly, my coworkers would still be inside finishing their closing duties. When the bus stopped, he got off with me. Immediately, he grabbed my shoulder again. Harder this time. I took tiny, shuffling steps, terrified to run too soon. To get inside the restaurant, I had to go through a large trash enclosure and then through the employee door. If I broke free and ran too early, he could easily catch me before I got to safety. As we got closer, I saw the trash enclosure door was propped open. Two of my coworkers were standing there, talking, holding the back door to the kitchen open. The moment his grip loosened, even just slightly, I ran. I slipped past him, choking out something about a man following me. The heavy metal door slammed shut right behind me. Less than 2 seconds later, the handle started shaking violently. He began pounding on the door, over and over. We called mall security right away. While we waited, we could see him through the windows, pacing back and forth outside. Then, bizarrely, he just walked into a nearby ice cream shop and sat down like nothing had happened. Security arrived, asked a few questions, and my kind coworker drove me to check on the cat and then took me all the way home. A few days later, my manager told me that security wanted to know if I wanted to press charges. I just said I wanted answer to who he was, why he was there. I never heard anything about it again. I tried my best to forget the whole thing. Months later, I drove up into the mountains to visit an old friend I hadn't seen in years. He lived alone in an old, isolated wooden house, surrounded by nothing but snow and darkness. From the moment I arrived, something felt off. His speech was slower than I remembered. His pauses felt wrong. The house was almost empty, and a long, unlit hallway stretched out behind the couch where I was supposed to sleep. That hallway bothered me more than I could explain. The first night, I've heard footsteps running back and forth upstairs. The second night, there were scraping sounds coming from that dark hallway, tapping on the wall right behind my head. I kept telling myself it was just an old house settling in the cold. On the third night, I woke up completely unable to move. Sleep paralysis. At least, that's what I thought at first, until I saw someone standing at the far end of the hallway, perfectly still, just watching me. I couldn't make out a face in the darkness. When I could finally move again, I went upstairs and found my friend fast asleep, completely unaware. But later, when I confronted him about it, his reaction wasn't confusion. It was recognition. I left right then, in the middle of a snowstorm. As I drove away, I looked back at the house and saw a silhouette standing in the window at the end of that hallway. That was the last time I ever saw that house. And to this day, I still don't know which moment scares me more, the night I was followed by a stranger, or the night I realized some people aren't alone, even when they say they are. Thanks for listening. Stay safe out there.